Welcome to Little Known Black History Facts. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. The Port Chicago Naval Disaster. Over 200 black sailors died. On the evening of July 17, 1944, residents in the San Francisco East Bay area were jolted awake by a massive explosion that cracked windows and lit up the night sky. At Port Chicago Naval Magazine, 320 men were instantly killed when two ships that were being loaded with ammunition designated for troops in the Pacific blew up. African American casualties totaled 202 dead and 233 injured, which accounted for 15% of all African American casualties during World War II. The Port Chicago disaster is a frequently overlooked episode that occurred during World War II, which resulted in profound changes in the U.S. military and the legal and social structure of American society. It was World War II's worst home front disaster. African American sailors were routinely assigned to load ships at the munitions depot, a dangerous task made even more deadly when white officers pushed them to work faster and with minimal safety measures, according to former ammunition loaders whose accounts were published in numerous books and news reports. Some likened it to a slave labor camp, where black sailors had to walk a half mile to use the bathroom because they weren't allowed to use bathrooms aboard the ships they were loading. Port Chicago, about 30 miles north of San Francisco, was developed into a munitions facility when the Naval Ammunition Depot at Mare Island, California, could not fully support the war effort. By the summer of 1944, expansion of the Port Chicago facility allowed for loading two ships at once around the clock. The Navy units assigned to the dangerous task of loading operations were generally segregated African American units. For the most part, these men had not been trained in handling munitions. Additionally, safety standards were forgotten in the rush to keep up with frantic loading schedules. On the evening of July 17th, the SS Quinault Victory and the SS E.A. Bryan, two merchant ships, were being loaded. The holds were being packed with 4,600 tons of explosives, bombs, depth charges, and ammunition. Another 400 tons of explosives were nearby on rail cars. Approximately 320 workers were on or near the pier when at 10:18 p.m. a series of massive explosions over several seconds destroyed everything and everyone in the vicinity. The force of the blast rattled windows more than 100 miles away. The blasts were felt as far away as Nevada, and the resulting damage extended as far as San Francisco. Every building in Port Chicago was damaged, and people were literally knocked off their feet. Smoke and fire extended nearly 2 miles into the air. The pilot of a plane flying at 9,000 feet in the area claimed that metal chunks from the explosion flew past him. Poor procedures and lack of training led to the disaster. At Port Chicago, black sailors who had been trained for combat roles were instead relegated to loading munitions aboard ships under the supervision of white officers. A premium was placed on speed and efficiency. The officers would conduct races among teams of loaders with little regard for safety. Neither the black sailors nor the officers were trained adequately for the dangerous work. Many loaders reported that they were not even given gloves for handling the 600-pound bombs and other munitions, including highly volatile incendiaries fitted with detonators. So little training was provided, while the Longshore Union continually warned that a catastrophe was imminent. The surviving men in these units, who helped put out the fires and saw the horrors firsthand, were quickly reassigned to Mare Island. White officers were given hardship leaves, and black survivors were ordered to clean up the decimated base, including the remains of their dead colleagues. Less than a month later, when ordered to load more munitions, but still having received no training, 258 African American sailors refused to carry out the orders. Then they were ordered to resume loading operations at the Mare Island Ammunition Depot across the Sacramento River in Vallejo. Without an explanation for what had happened at Port Chicago or additional training, many of the sailors refused. 208 of them were sentenced to bad conduct discharges and pay forfeiture. The remaining 50 men were put up on trial for general court-martial. They were sentenced to between 8 and 15 years of hard labor, though 2 years later they were given clemency. A 1994 review of the trials revealed race played a large factor in the harsh sentences. In December 1999, President Clinton pardoned Freddie Meeks, one of only 3 of the 50 convicted sailors known to be alive at the time. The Port Chicago disaster eventually led to the implementation of far safer procedures for loading ammunition. In addition, greater emphasis was put on proper training in explosives handling, and the munitions themselves were altered for greater safety. There is now a national memorial to the victims at the site. The aftermath of the Port Chicago disaster compelled a reevaluation of the role of racial minorities in the military following World War II, a consequential prologue to the broader civil rights movement that changed America. The unequitable treatment of African Americans during the World War II era is well documented. During the war, stories of the indignities and violence circulated widely, and the black press and the civil rights leaders pressured the Roosevelt administration for serious action to address discrimination. For the Port Chicago 50, however, there was no justice, and most lived the rest of their lives concealing their experience, even from their own families. Until next time, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Press the bell to be notified of future uploads. Thank you for watching.